I think a few of the lessons I took was a lot of individual lessons and a lot of team lessons. Being an individual on a team, you need to find your role and what that role is and what you bring to the team and excel at that. There's a lot of sacrifices as an individual that you make being part of a team. Commitment is another huge one. Where being a professional hockey player is a lifestyle, just like work would be. So being a part of a team and excelling as a team as well as excelling as an individual and growth in both of those aspects. My father owns a small exteriors company in Leduc. He's retired now. I worked with him as a kid from, I want to say, from 10 to 16 years old and then afterwards as well. Worked every summer with him, and then after my hockey career, I worked with him as well for a few years. So Dad was a little bit different than what I have going on now. He was an installer for the same builders for 40 years, doing it, supply and install by himself, and I've kind of taken that and definitely expanded through that. So I always tell the joke of Dad just got a cell phone a few years ago and just got an email. So he was a smaller installer and I just kind of expanded on that. So, you know, anybody that's worked with their family before, it can be difficult. And maybe looking back now, I see some of the lessons he was trying to teach. I always remember the story. The last day I ever worked with Dad was Christmas Eve. And I didn't want to be there. And we worked till about 6:37 that night, and I was actually working on the backside of a chimney 2 stories up. So I was kind of rushing to finish the chimney, and Dad came up to check on it, and I had a piece of J-trim of about that short, and Dad goes, "Well, what is that?" And I said, "Well, who cares? Nobody's going to see it." And Dad goes, "I'm going to see it, redo it." I think with Dad, a lot of it was taking pride in your work, being honest. I think the last 10 years of his career, I don't even think he had to submit pricing. People would send him a blueprint and say, "Lawrence, go ahead and do it." And Dad would bill them. That's just honest. And that's kind of what I try to pride myself on as well. The name Second Generation Exteriors comes from the basis of being a second generation exterior person, I guess you'd call it. I wanted to incorporate that name more so not showing I'm the second generation of it, but more so following what my dad did in the first generation. Something to be proud of and humbled by. He was honest, he was reliable, he was a good person. And that's what I'm bringing in with my company as well. I had moved to Airdrie, and I was literally just sitting on my driveway one summer afternoon, and my garage door was open, full of siding boxes, equipment. And one of my neighbors actually walked by and asked if I did siding, which obviously I did. We ended up doing her house and her neighbor's house and her neighbor's house. And that was the point where I realized I can do this on my own. I don't need to work for somebody. Every bid, with every job, with every insurance claim, it's going that extra mile. A lot of the times we get sent a scope or a blueprint, and we need to interpret what that all entails above and beyond. So with insurance claims, it's a lot of going above and beyond an insurance assessment, which for us is part of our package. It's not really even something we charge for. It's something that we take with our knowledge. A lot of the customers don't have experience in an insurance claim. So what we do is we take over that claim and we maximize that for them. We make sure the house is fixed, it's fixed right on the insurance company's dime. On an average hailstorm year, we will take an average assessment of, let's say, $10,000 and a lot of the times double, triple, quadruple that. I do remember one here in Airdrie where the original assessment was $8,000, and by the time we were done, it was $132,000. Finding somebody that can help with the insurance is crucial. And like I said, that's not something we charge an assessment fee for. That's not something we charge our time for. That's kind of included in the package when you choose us. The difference between selling between a commercial and a residential client, when it comes to a commercial client, a lot of commercial clients are more focused on their return on investment. What is the best material? What is the best process for repairing or on a new build? What money are you going to save over time? What type of maintenance is needed, etc. On the flip side, with your house, it is a investment as well, but it's also a home. There's times where you can put money into a home where that makes it feel like a home for you, but that doesn't mean that that's a good investment. So between the two, finding a balance of return on investment and making it a home is something that I pride myself on. Anybody that's met with me, the first question I ever ask with a house is this your forever home? Being active in the community has been rewarding on both a personal and a business level. I'm very fortunate to have the time and resources to give back to my community. We spend a lot of our time, a lot of our money with a lot of organizations here in Airdrie, both business and personal. All things that are important to me, have a meaning to me, and a responsibility to me to give back to my community that gives us so much. To me, karma is a big thing. Once again, that's not why we do a lot of these things, but it comes around. So as a business leader, as any entrepreneur, as any member of the community, giving back and being a valuable member is not a right. It's just something you have to do and you should do and you want to do, and that's why we do those things. My mentors were my dad, and I actually had a business coach for a while. Having a business coach was probably one of the best things I ever did. That was at a time where our company was transitioning from me working out of the garage in an office upstairs to taking the leap with hiring some more in-house people, getting in an office space and so on. At that time as well, I was working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. I never was able to turn it off. So yeah, hiring Donnie Hall at that time, it's probably one of the best things I did. I don't come from a business background. I come from playing hockey and putting siding on the wall. So having somebody that's been there and to explain things the way I think compared to how things actually work was honestly the best thing I've ever done. And it's given me so much of my time back. I'm good at certain things. I'm not good at other things, and that's okay. So when you're growing in business, you need to find those people that complement you and are almost a complete opposite. I'm a very non-confrontational person. It's nice having somebody that puts the foot down and says, no, this isn't right. Paperwork isn't my most favorite thing. It's nice having somebody that does that. Once you find those people and you give some of that responsibility away, you're free to then do what you want to do. Do what you're good at. Paying somebody to handle, let's say, the bookkeeping was one of the biggest things I learned from Donnie. Taking a minute and figuring out what my time is worth. What my time is worth an hour. And then try to figure out some stuff like bookkeeping. At that time, I was spending about 20 hours on bookkeeping. First thing he said to me was, can you hire a bookkeeper for $500 or $600 a month? Smaller company at that time. I said, yeah, I probably could. And he says, in those 20 hours, could you go out and sell another job? I said, well, absolutely. So then at that point it was, I can't afford not to give some of those responsibilities away, right? Which is hard as a business owner to start handing over your baby. But when you find people you trust, you find people that care just as much as you do, it just allows you to do other things that you're good at. I don't think anybody can run a business on their own and have continuous growth. So finding team members that are passionate about what you're doing, as well as involving them. I don't like to have employees. I like to have, call it a business partner. I feel when somebody's invested in the company, when somebody feels a part of it and it makes it their own, then it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's something that means something to them, and it's not just a paycheck. So anybody moving from a single business owner to trying to hire a team, I would say do it slowly, right? Take your time and find those people. Take the time and figure out what responsibilities you can give and what the return is in that. I mean, I think once you figure out that if I spend X less hours a month doing something, with my added extra times, what can I be doing? And whether that's out selling a job or spending time with your kids, I mean, everything sort of has a value on it. The first employee I hired was James, our construction manager. I had known James for years before that, just from installing. What drew me to hiring James was he did a few jobs for me, actually installing. And with James, it wasn't about throwing product on the wall and getting a paycheck. The guy took his time. Sometimes a little bit more time than he should have, but his almost payment for that job was for him to stand back and go, I did this. I'm proud of this. Most homeowners don't know what the drip cap should look like. Most homeowners don't know how the building envelope should be done. That's on us. And it was really hard for me being the owner and the only person responsible for that and trying to hand that off to somebody else. So finding somebody that had the same passion for the quality of work, somebody that had the same respect for themselves, their reputation, and being able to carry that on to my job sites has been so beneficial. So after 10 years, a lot of things change on how you want to operate the business and what you want and what your goals are. Those things change daily. 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 1-day plans, 10-day plans, on and on. It changes over time. I think when I first started, I wanted to have this $50 million a year company and have 200 people working for me and be the largest exterior company in Canada. And that has completely changed. Being able to forecast what's coming, being in a place where your growth isn't stale, but it's sustainable, is huge for me. And then with the time that you have to put into those things and the risk and everything that comes with growing a company, sometimes you just need to find the balance of going back to your personal life to your work life. So I've shifted a little bit from trying to be the biggest and the best to being the best and the best father, the best person in the community. It's a real tough balance at times, but trying to find that balance is the goal, not growth. The Siding Contractors Association Alberta, which we've been a member for a few years now, we spent a lot of time talking about new code changes, what's coming up, new materials, new practices, new safe work practices, and so on. Being involved with that and having a passion for what I do, having a passion for new product, having the will to look at that stuff and investigate it and try it is huge for us. Things are always changing in every industry, and being on top of that and recognizing trends and exploring different materials and such is huge for us. There's a lot of code changes coming up in the next couple of years with net-free homes. So staying on top of that, being part of that conversation before those codes are written is so valuable to us. We have our monthly meeting with the Siding Association, and that's usually the forefront topic is what are these code changes? How can we stay safe? What products are coming out? What is the process moving forward with some of these codes? So being on top of that, being ahead of that is, something that we need to do and something I love to do. In our industry, the most successful advertising methods that we've used definitely just has to be word of mouth. I think when you do a good job and you're honest and you treat people fairly and you stand behind your work, that word gets out. Are we the cheapest? No. Are we the most expensive? No. For what we provide, the quality, workmanship, just the feeling you have of we're going to be there when something goes wrong. Trust is a big one, right? So once that kind of is your company brand, I mean, I don't call it so much as a brand, it's just who we are as people, who I am as a person. I don't think there's any better marketing than your neighbor telling you about second generation exteriors. The montage of you need an education to make money or have a career, to me is an old-fashioned thought. For some, sure, right? You need a degree to do some things. There's nothing wrong with being a siding installer, being a framer, being a roofer. We have a lot of successful people in our industry that started out banging a hammer at 18 years old. So for some, I mean, I don't think it's ever a bad thing to continue your education, but I mean, I was 30 years old and I didn't know what I want to do. So spending hundreds of thousands of dollars at school at 18, when you still don't have an idea what you want to do, I'm on the fence with it. I went to school for about 3 months when I was playing hockey and then got traded. I take a lot of valuable lessons out of that. But where I'm at today, did I need school? Maybe it would have helped. Do I see a lot of my friends that are successful business owners in the trades? 100%. It is so hard to find good tradespeople, and there's such a huge market for it that those values and that paycheck and that yearly salary has just gone up and up and up, and it's just something that you can follow without going to school for 5 years. Some people can't sit in a classroom, but man, can they put on a roof. If I was able to talk to my younger self, I'd say just don't ever give up. I don't think I change anything. A lot of the stuff I went through, a lot of the stuff I go through, a lot of the lessons I've learned has made me who I am today, has made my company who they are today. Just taking each one of those lessons and learning from it. If everything went smoothly for 10 years, I don't think we would be the company that we are. Mistakes are going to happen. It's what you do with those mistakes that separates you from the rest. The hardest skill I've had to master in business would probably be balancing life and work. I mean, that's a journey for any entrepreneur, especially getting started. I think at the start of my journey, it was work, build a life for me and my two boys. And then I think that kind of switched a little bit to still building that life, but having a life. It's a process, and there's no right answer to what that balance is. But finding it is probably the most important thing in life. So I guess the biggest thing I have for advice to an aspiring entrepreneur would be find what you're good at and do that. Find what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, they say. Being able to give some of your responsibilities away so that you could focus on what you're doing is probably the biggest piece of value I can give to somebody. It's okay not to be good at some things. And it's awesome to be amazing at a lot of things. Focus on those things. Find out what that time is worth. Find out what your time doing this is worth. Find out what your time doing that is worth. And it's pretty simple math on what you need to work on, what you need help on. For an entrepreneur, it can take over your life. You can work 24 hours, 7 days a week, non-stop. You have to sit back sometimes and remember, why am I doing this, right? Always keep that goal in mind of, why did I start this business? I started this business to have more time with my children. I started this business to fix my finances. Whatever it is, stay true to that. Will there be a third generation? Hopefully. I know that when I worked with my dad, the last thing I wanted to do was install the rest of my life. I never thought this would be a avenue that I grew into in my life. I'm glad I did. Is that something that I want my kids to do? Maybe not. I want my kids like my dad. My dad was never, you're going to be a siding installer and this is what you're going to do the rest of your life. My dad worked so hard so that I could do whatever I wanted, right? And I think as generations come and you have kids, I think everybody just wants to be that much better. I want to be that much better of a dad than mine was. My kids are going to want to be that much better as well. So I think what I'm doing now is the same thing that my father did, where I'm working so that they can do whatever they want, whether that's part of the company, whether that's work in a movie theater, it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to do is be able to give them the opportunity that my father gave me to do whatever I want to do.